Hello students, in today's lecture we are going to learn about laws of motion, NCERT section 4.5. Disclaimer: the images, text and other materials used in our presentations are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So, in today's lecture, we will cover 4.5 Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Difference between first law and second law of motion. So, we know Newton's first law of motion. So, in first law of motion, we consider the net external force on a body is zero, according to Newton's first law of motion. Whereas second law of motion refers to the general situation when there is a net external force acting on the body. Second law of motion relates the net external force to the acceleration of the body. It means we know in first law of motion net external force on a body is zero, whereas in second law of motion net external force relates to the acceleration of the body. To understand the second law of motion, first we define linear momentum. So we will focus on getting the answers of the following. First is, what is linear momentum? Our second question, how is it defined? Third, its mathematical form. Vector or a scalar quantity? You know, linear momentum is vector quantity. And last, units and dimension. Let us define linear momentum. Linear momentum, we can say linear momentum of a body is defined to be the product of its mass m and velocity v. So it will be mass into velocity. If a body of mass m is moving with velocity v, in that case their linear momentum p is given by p is equal to mass into velocity. So this is the mathematical form of linear momentum, mass into velocity. Momentum is a vector quantity. Momentum is vector quantity. And how we can determine the direction of the momentum? So its direction, the direction of the momentum is the same as the direction of velocity of the body. It means the direction of the momentum depends on the direction of velocity. Units. In SI units, the unit is kilogram meter per second. Whereas if we talk about in CGS units, the unit is gram centimeter per second. So this is the unit of momentum. Dimensional formula ml T inverse. So this is the dimensional formula. Clear? A question arises. Why have we defined momentum to be product of mass and velocity? We know momentum is mass into velocity. So why have we defined momentum? So it might have been the product of other quantities. Yes or no? To get the answer, let us focus on some examples in the following sections. To understand why momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Example first, suppose a lightweight vehicle, lightweight lightweight vehicle like suppose say a small car, and a heavyweight vehicle, say a loaded truck. Lightweight vehicle, small car, and heavy weight vehicle, loaded truck, are parked on a horizontal road. Horizontal road. So much greater force is needed to push the truck than car to bring them to the same speed and same time. And greater opposing force is needed to stop a heavy body than a light body. Yes or no? Yes. It means to stop, or we can say to opposing, to stop a heavy body. To stop a heavy body, we need a large force, greater opposing force. Whereas to stop a lightweight body, we need a small force. It means uh, we can say force is depend on mass. Force is depend on mass. If the weight, if the mass of the uh, object is larger, in that case force should be more, or we can say larger. So we can say we needed more greater opposing force to stop heavy body than a lighter body in the same time if they are moving with same speed. To understand why momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Example 2. If two stones, one light and the other heavy, are dropped from the top of a building. We have two stones, one is light stone, second is heavy stone. So when we dropped from the top of a building, a person on the ground will find it easier to catch the light stone than the heavy stone, because the weight of the light stone is less as compared to heavy stone. Thus, mass of body is thus an important parameter that determines the effect of force on its motion. So here mass is a parameter. Due to this, effect of forces changes. To understand why momentum is product of mass and velocity. Example 3. Let's discuss. A high speed bullet preserves human tissue easily and causes fatality. A moderate speed bullet will not cause much damage, since higher speeds required greater opposing force. Yes or no? Higher speed requires greater opposing force to stop an object in a given time. Whereas, uh, if we talk about the lighter weight, uh, lighter weight object, or we can say lighter weight bullet, required less force. Clear? Therefore, speed is a crucial factor in motion. Thus, momentum, that is product of mass and velocity, is a relevant variable of motion. Is a what? Relevant variable of motion. Greater the change in momentum in a given time, greater is the force that needs to be applied. It means momentum force, if the force is greater, change in momentum is also greater. So Example 4. Look at here. Force not only depends on the change in momentum, but also on how fast the change is brought about. A seasoned cricketer draws in his hands during a catch, allowing greater time for the ball to stop, and hence requires small force. This is important concept. So to stop a ball, look at figure 4.3. To stop this moving ball, uh, cricketer uh, you cricketer requires, or we can say cricketer uh, you spend more time to stop this ball. Cricketer spend more time, and due to this, the force, the required force is small. Cricketer allows a longer time for his stance to stop the ball, like the position of the hand is changes from this is initial, then again, so the position of hands is changes. So we can say cricketer spend more time for his hands to stop the ball. So here question arises, why? As you may have noticed, see figure 4.3, cricketer draws in the hands backward. Yes or no? In the act of catching the ball, allowing greater time for the ball to stop and hence require a smaller force. So, example 4, we can say novice, on the other hand, keeps his hands fixed and tries to catch the ball almost instantly. Thus, novice needs to provide a much greater force to stop the ball instantly, and this hurts. Conclusion, force not only depends on the change in momentum, but also on how fast the change is brought about. Same change in momentum brought about in a shorter time needs a greater applied force. This is important. Clear? Let's take one more example. If you catch the ball with stiff hands, the ball stops very quickly. The time interval is delta t. That means the large force acts on your hands. More pain, or you might even drop the ball. But if you move hands backward, listen carefully. As shown in figure 4.3, if you move hand backward while catching, you are increasing the time over which the ball slows down. So the force become less. Force become less. So we can say the time is the factor. Due to this, the force is in that case smaller, or we can say larger time. Due to larger time, greater force. Due to larger time, force is greater, and for the shorter time needs a greater force, greater applied force. In a short, the greater the rate of change of momentum, greater is the force. So here the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force. Clear? So to understand, the force is related to the rate of change of momentum. Suppose a fixed force is applied for a certain interval of time on two bodies of different masses initially at rest, the lighter body picks up a greater speed than heavier body. It means here mass is a mass due to the less mass, uh, due to the less mass, the force is less. We can say uh, force depends on mass. However, at the end of the time interval, observations show that each body acquires the same momentum. Thus, the same force for same time causes the same change in momentum for different bodies. Direction of momentum and change in momentum is not always same. In these examples so far, momentum and change in momentum both have same direction. But this is not always the case. Suppose a stone is rotated with uniform speed in a horizontal plane by means of a string. The magnitude of momentum is fixed, but its direction changes because the stone is rotated. Due to this rotation, the direction of momentum is changes. Second law of motion is expressed by Newton as follows. The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. So this is the definition of second law of motion. Rate of change of momentum is equal to applied force. Mathematical form of second law of motion. If under the action of a force F for a time interval delta t, the velocity of a body of mass m changes from v to v plus delta v. So this is the change in velocity. Its initial momentum is p is equal to mass into velocity changes by p is equal to mass into delta v. Here delta v is the change in velocity. So momentum will become delta p is equal to m into delta v, change in momentum. According to second law, force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. So we can say F is directly proportional to delta P divided by delta T. So to removing the proportionality constant, proportionality sign, to removing the proportionality sign, we use a factor, that is proportionality constant K. So F is equal to K delta P divided by delta T. Here where K is a constant of proportionality. Mathematical form of second law of motion. Taking the limit delta t approaches 0, the term delta p upon delta t becomes the derivative of p with respect to t, and that is denoted by dp upon dt. This is the derivative of p with differentiation of p with respect to t. Thus, F is equal to k dp upon dt. This is important equation. For a body of fixed mass m, rate of change of momentum is equal to dmv divided by dt, mass into velocity. So here mass is constant, so it comes outside m, and remaining term is dv upon dt. So rate of change of velocity is acceleration. So rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass into acceleration. So according to second law of motion, we can write F is equal to kma. Kma. We know K is the proportionality constant, which shows that force is proportional to the product of mass m and acceleration a. M is the mass and a is acceleration. Unit of force has not been defined so far. In fact, we use F is equal to kma to define the unit of force. Therefore, we have the liberty to choose any constant value for k. For simplicity, we choose k is equal to 1. So when we choose k is equal to 1, the second law of motion become F is equal to ma, because k is equal to 1. F is equal to ma. So the second law for a body of fixed mass m is F is equal to dp upon dt. Rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration, ma. SI unit of force is Newton. 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second square, and this is important unit. 1 Newton causes an acceleration of 1 meter per second square to a mass of 1 kg. Clear? Let us denote some important points about the second law. First, in the second law, F is equal to 0 implies acceleration equal to 0, because we know F is equal to rate of change of momentum, or F is equal to ma. So if F equal to 0, that implies A equal to 0. Second law is obviously consistent with first law. Let us note some important points about the second law. So second point is F is equal to dp upon dt is equal to ma is a vector law. It is equivalent to 3 equations, one for each component of the vectors. So fx is equal to dpx upon dt is equal to max. This is along x-axis. Fy is equal to dpy divided by dt is equal to may, and fz is equal to dpz divided by dt equal to maz. So this is the force along their components, along x-axis, along y-axis, along z-axis, or we can say component of the vectors. If a force is not parallel to velocity of the body but makes some angle with it, it changes only the component of the velocity along the direction of force. So component of velocity normal to the force remains unchanged. For example, in the motion of a projectile under the vertical gravitational force, the horizontal component of velocity remains unchanged. Why horizontal component of velocity remains unchanged? Because in projectile motion there is no acceleration along x-axis. There is only acceleration, that is acceleration due to gravity in vertically downward. That's why the horizontal component of velocity remains unchanged. Clear? So third important point is the second law of motion given by F is equal to dp upon dt. Rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration is applicable to a single point particle, and this is important concept. F is equal to dp upon dt is equal to ma is the applicable to a single point particle. Single point means the size of the particle should be very small. F is equal to dp upon dt. Force F in the law stands for the net external force on the particle, and A stands for acceleration of the particle. F is the force and A is the acceleration of the particle. Any internal forces in the system are not to be included in F. So look at here. This is acceleration here, and now is determined by the force, and here now not by any history of motion of the particle. So often in these situations the force and time duration are difficult to ascertain separately. However, the product of force and time which is the change in momentum of the body, remains measurable quantity. This is product is called impulse. Clear? Product of force and time, known as impulse. So impulse is equal to force into time duration. Time duration when we hits by a stone. When we hits uh, by a stone to ground or to a wall. So in that case, the exerted force and time duration. Product of these quantities is equal to impulse. Impulse is equal to change in momentum. Final momentum minus initial momentum. Before hitting the wall and after hitting the wall, the velocity of the stone and into their mass is equal to change in momentum, and that shows their impulse. A large force acting for a short time to produce a finite change in momentum is called a impulsive force. Impulsive force means force, large force acting for a short time. Clear? Impulsive force is like any other force except that it is large and acts for a short time. So simply we can say impulsive force acted impulsive force acts for a short time. The time interval is very short, or we can say very small. Delta t should be approaches 0, or we can say delta t approaches to 0. Time interval should be very small if we talk about the impulsive force. Got it? Example: a batsman hits back a ball straight in the direction of the bowler without changing its initial speed of 12 meter per second. If the mass of the ball is 0.15 kg, determine the impulse imparted to the ball. Assume linear motion of the ball. So here we have to find out the impulse imparted to the ball. So we know impulse is product of force and time. Clear? Please solve. Answer: we know change in momentum is equal to final momentum minus initial momentum. So change in momentum is equal to final momentum is mass into velocity, final velocity. So that is 0.15 into 12 minus initial momentum, their mass 0.15 into 12. So change in momentum become 3.6 Newton second. So impulse is equal to 3.6 Newton second, because we know impulse is equal to change in momentum, that is 3.6 Newton second. In the direction from the batsman to the bowler, this is an example where the force on the ball by batsman and the time of contact of the ball and bat are difficult to know, but this is impulse is radially calculated. Here the time of contact of the ball is difficult to know because the time interval is very small. Summary: momentum of a body is product of mass m and velocity v. So P is equal to mass into velocity. Newton's second law of motion: the rate of change of momentum of a body is proportional to the applied force and takes place in direction in which force acts. Thus F is equal to K into dP upon dt. So it will be K into mass into acceleration. Mass into acceleration. where F is the net external force on the body and A its acceleration. A is the acceleration. We set the constant of proportionality K is equal to 1 in SI units. So in that case, F is equal to dp upon dt. Rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration. This is the Newton's second law of motion. And this is very important. So remember this. The SI unit of the force is Newton. 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second square. The second law is consistent with first law. So F is equal to 0 because according to Newton's first law, the net external force on a body equal to 0. So that implies acceleration equal to 0. Yes or no? B. It is a vector equation. Vector equation. It is applicable to a particle and also to a body or system of particles provided F is the total external force on the system and A is the acceleration of the system as a whole. F is a point at a certain instant determines acceleration at a same point at that instant. That is the second law is a local law. A at an instant does not depend on the history of motion. Impulse is a product of force and time which equals to change in momentum. Change in momentum is equal to impulse. The notion of impulse is useful when a large force acts for a short time to produce a measurable change in momentum. Since the time of action of the force is very short, one can assume that there is no appreciable change in the position of the body during the action of the impulsive force. Impulsive force, the time period is very small, delta t approaches 0. This is the shows the impulsive force. F is equal to impulse is equal to F into delta t. Delta t is a short time period. Here we have some practice questions for you. First question is, explain the relationship between momentum and impulse. So here you have to find out the relationship between momentum and impulse. So we know momentum is mass into velocity, whereas impulse is equal to force into delta t. Here delta t is time interval, which is very small. Second question is, a car with a mass of 15 kg, 1500 kg is moving at a velocity of 20 meter per second. We have a car, the mass of the car is 1500 kg and the velocity is given 20 meter per second. Calculate its momentum. So here we have to find out the momentum. So we know the formula of the momentum, mass into velocity. So just substitute the value of mass, that is 1500 kg, and the velocity 20 meter per second, and product you will be get the momentum. Second, what would be the change in momentum if a force acts on a car bringing it to a stop in 5 seconds? In second part, you have to find out the change in momentum. So we know change in momentum is what? Final momentum minus initial momentum. Third question, according to Newton's second law, how does the acceleration of an object change if both its mass and the net force applied to it to be doubled? It means what? It means if the mass and the net force applied on a body are doubled, so then what will be the effect on acceleration of the object? Clear? So here you have to find out the effect of an object. In the context of a collision, why is it advantageous? In terms of safety, for vehicles to have features that extend the time interval over which an impact occurs, such as crumble zones and airways. So these 4 questions are homework for you. Thank you for your attention.